Hey everyone, we're back with more FF14. We're gonna do Kryle's quest line here in Charlene first, and then we'll come back to the other one. There's also, we get a boot upgrade, which I think is actually an upgrade. Yeah, it is. An unsettling change has come over Charlene, but together we will divine the underlying cause for the form's callousness. As I mentioned before, however questioning the counselors directly is a fruitless endeavor, they seem to have already come to a consensus as to what and how little they are willing to divulge. Which is why I began scouring Charlene's archive of historical records for any hint of a connection to the final days. Suffice it to say that progress has been slow. There are only so many dusty pages one can skim a day, but now that I have this band of willing reinforcements, the search shall proceed with all the swifter. Sorry, it's really hot here, and my head is itchy for it. Let us reconvene us at the Numenon, shall we? Exit the annex to the right, and you will find the archives on the western edge of the woods. Yeah, we're gonna work on both of these eventually. For now, we can't run to where we need to go, so I'll teleport anyway, so we just need to run over here. I am gonna run up to that Eorzea first. It's a little bit north from here, but this is the Eorzea is right outside where Alphino and Eorzea went to school, and I guess Graha and Kryle as well, and Eorzea, and probably Ashtola to a lesser degree. Though she spent a lot of time with Master Matoya directly. Yay! Sadly, we gotta do that again in another city. Hit it, Kryle. My directions were easy enough to follow, I hope. In any case, you stand now at the doors of the Numenon, Charlene's grandest collection of books and tomes. This building is actually only an entrance, one of many at that. But the archives of the Numenon extend deep beneath the surface, like the roots of a tree. The vast halls of the Great Google Library pale in comparison to Numenon's endless maze of subterranean chambers. Any citizen of Charlene is free to enter and peruse the shelves. Well, most of its shelves. Only Archons are afforded access to certain restricted vaults. I've dispatched Ashtola and Raha to investigate those. Meanwhile, Eorzea and Alphino will help me continue my search to the stacks open to the general public. Your status presents more of a problem. As a non-citizen, you're only permitted to browse the first floor here at the entrance. Even so, there should be a number of books which touch upon Charlene history of foreign policy. Your task will be to find and study relevant publications. I promise you, a working knowledge of those subjects will make it far easier to spot the sort of clues we're looking for. Let us be about it then, shall we? I've told the others to meet us at the stone benches over there once they've found some promising tomes. Happy reading! Alright, we have to go look for books. Now, I'm pretty sure they get you to do this a couple times throughout the game, but the title on the spine reads, The Story of Charlene. Long, long ago, on an island in the northern sea, there lived a a man by the name of Njunkreft. Njunkreft was a student of astrology, and he divined the flood of the terrifying proportions that would soon sweep over the lands of Eorzea. So it was that he built a gigantic ship, assembled a crew, and set sail for that imperiled realm. The flood arrived, as foretold, and to their horror, the strangely churning waters drove the people towards the ocean. It was there, however, that Njunkreft's whole crew hauled them aboard his ark. But the danger had not passed. A towering wave approached, threatening to smash the vessel to pieces. The only moment to spare, Njunkreft wove a mighty spell of teleportation and shifted the entire ship to safety atop Abelathia's spine. Refugees from the surrounding regions huddled there alongside him. But it was not long before disputes over the dwindling supply of food led to violence and bloodshed. Saddened by the sight, Njunkreft gathered to him his crew and his grateful passengers and abandoned the ark to those reddened peaks. They journeyed to the coast where they built a new ship, intent upon returning to the northern seas. They landed on the beach of an island and settled upon that very spot. The settlement prospered and grew, and in time it became the city of Charlian we live in today. We actually saw Nyumkrep's ship in Aligiri, or in the Peaks. Hey, Cheshire. Red covered book. The name on the spine reads Roads of Old, the Colony. Many years ago, on the banks of the Thaliak in the Gervanian hinterlands, a Charlian colony once thrived. This settlement was originally established as a mere outpost to study the ethereal sea in the year 1311 of the 6th astral era. Scholars dispatched to Eorzea found the facilities wanting, and their demands encouraged a gradual expansion in structures and services. As rumors spread of a growing community of academics, the area was further inundated with Eorzean students hoping to share in the renowned wisdom of the Charlians. 50 years later, the Forum passed a motion to recognize what had become a flourishing town as an official Charlian colony. The Eorzean residents took to calling the colony itself Charlian, which led to no small amount of confusion when discussions about the subject of the motherland. In response, some Charlian inhabitants, if pressed for name, would simply refer to it as Emporium. Following the Exodus, however, the goblins and treasure hunters claimed the corner for themselves a corner of the abandoned colony and gave it yet another name, Idleshire. The following chapters go on to introduce the most prominent features of Idleshire. The book does not appear to contain additional information on the Forum, or cover the history of Charlian Motherland in greater detail. How are you doing today, Cheshire? Stewards of Wisdom. During the chaos of the Sixth Unbolt Calamity, Archon Nyumkrep, founder of the Charlian, bore witness to the madness and savagery of men brought to the brink of despair. Upon raising a settlement on an island in the northern empty, he instructed his people thus: renounce the ways of war and pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason. The Charlians took to heart the words of their savior and thenceforth served as stewards of wisdom. Upon a foundation of accumulated learning, they built a homeland unlike any other, a nation born from strength of minds rather than strength of arms. With knowledge of economics came shrewd trading. With knowledge of agriculture came bountiful crops. Engineering brought wealth and sewers, ending squabbles over water. Wealth of expertise could be bartered with for coin and wealth and coin, and the more their wisdom spread throughout the world, the more mankind as a whole would thrive. And so it was, no matter the trials and tribulations of the age, the citizens of Charlian would live by their founders' teachings. For the sake of a better tomorrow, for the sake of a brighter star, they would eschew the tools of war, and with the knowledge of deliver the world. Well-worn manual. Forever 20 Summers. My beloved seekers of knowledge, have you ever put learning before your health and neglected to feed and rest your body as you should? I too once engaged in such foolish practices. One night, engrossed in philosophical study, I had an epiphany. For all the world's mysteries that drive us to reckless abandon, we have so few years in which to achieve our goals. Thus I share with you this mantra: I am forever 20 summers young. The number itself is unimportant. You could be 19, 23, or 40, whatever age you are when you discover this manual. Let that be the age you aspire to remain. Though mindful, healthy living will extend the time available to spend upon your chosen research. Another day, another moon, another summer to grasp the greater truths you pursue. In the pages that follow, we will explore the secrets of maintaining one's physical condition from a biological, ethereological, and arcane viewpoint. The book is on the wrong subject. Search for works with which contain details on the forums. Blue covered book. An Introduction to the Heavens. Have you ever gazed at the skies above and contemplated the mysteries contained therein? I speak not of the shifting cloud patterns, but of the vastness beyond, of the sun of the twinkling tapestry of the night. Some think the dome above us to be infinite space, yet amongst the leading thinkers of our age, one scholar depiction of a boundless sea of stars has firmly taken root. Alas, the heavenly sea remains an unreachable, unknowable destination. There are few indeed who can explain, in satisfactory detail, why our own star is believed to revolve around the sun. It was the technologists of Alag who came closest to understanding the laws which govern the starry abyss. It was they who launched Alamud and sought to expand upon our earthbound existence. Having read their ancient ambitions, I wonder, has your interest in this field of study waxed or waned? What if I were to tell you that the eternal constellations were arranged differently in the distant past? Let their positions continue to shift almost imperceptibly but measurably as we journey into the future. Would it shock you to learn that the stars drift further and further apart and may indeed do so forever? Are you eager to learn more? Are you guys eager to learn more about stars and semen? The spine reads the voice of a growing city. In the years which followed the founding of Charlene, a civic policy and other matters of import were decided at the Ecclesia, a public forum in which every citizen was eligible to speak. As the city's population grew, however, this format became increasingly impractical. The larger numbers of participants would give rise to ever longer debates, resulting in significant delays of vital resolutions. Various measures were introduced in an attempt to curtail protracted discussions, but in the year 201 of the 6th Astral Era, it was ultimately decreed that Charlene would transition to a new form of governance. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens chosen from among their peers by means of a nationwide vote. Thus was the forum as we know it today conceived and created. We have our books. Cheshire, what was the last book you read? Oh, man. I know, the opening's a bit dry, but we'll get there, guys. We'll get to some exciting stuff. Sorry, were you waiting long? I wanted to make sure I'd borrowed at least a few promising volumes. Alphino and Kryos should be along shortly. I was delayed in a similar fashion. As far as I could see, no titles in the Archon stacks mention the final days specifically, so we have no choice but to start with the tangentially relevant tomes, if they are even that. At present, the plan is to skim through as quickly as we dare, and share our discoveries as we make them. It would be nice to invite everyone to the estate, plenty of comfortable places to read, and a ready supply of hot tea. Oh, I was always quite fond of reading outside, but it's not about the little pleasures, is it? You miss your home. It's been difficult. After our arrival, we managed to speak with one of the family servants and ask how things were. It seems our dear father has instructed the staff that even if Alphino and I would return to Charlene, we're not allowed to cross the threshold. A harsh measure indeed. I hope that our efforts to understand his position and that of the Bones will perhaps lead to a reconciliation. We'll mend this rift one day, I'm certain of it. And what of you, Graha? Have you been to visit your family, or did they not live here in the city? Ah, well, my situation is also somewhat complicated. I was raised in Charlene, yes, but I was born rather further away. In the southwest reaches of Ilsabar, in fact. For generations, my people have dealt in Corvos, the coastal region opposite to the Isle of Thavnir. The Allegans founded a city in that fertile land, and by ships brought in the subjugated tribes of the Mikote and to serve as laborers. Of course, the massive earthquakes of the Fourth Umbral Calamity brought an end to the Empire's reign, and when the Fifth Calamity froze the seas solid, many of the tribes still living in Corvos braved the journey back to Eorzea. My ancestors, however, chose to remain that they might prevent the remnants of Alleg technology from being misused. Isn't Corvos under Garlean rule? For the past 50 years, yes. Some semblance of local culture remains, as is the case for most imperial provinces, but Garlemald renamed the region Locus Emunus. When I was a boy, a nearby town came under the jurisdiction of an illustrious imperial family, the nobles of House Darnus. House Darnus demonstrated a singular interest in Allegan civilization, and so my tribe was forced to consider a plan of action. For some time already, voices have been raised in favor of abandoning our ancient customs. After all, the Allegan Eye no longer passed to our eldest children as reliably as it once had. Fear of discovery eventually tipped the scales, and the decision was made to bury our ties to the knowledge and traditions of Alleg. As the last child born with the Allegan Eye, I was given over to the custody of friends and the students of Baldessian, who had me registered as a Charlian citizen. I never even considered. Forgive me, it was an unkind question. Even Thancred was taken in by Archon Louis Sois, was he not? Stories of adopting waifs and rescued orphans are more common among Charlian than you might think. Yet regardless of our origins, we are all provided with an equal opportunity to learn, and with sufficient perspicacity, we outsiders can earn the vaunted title of Archon. This is exactly why I have such a love for this country, and why I wish to remain a nation of which its citizens can be proud. Here, here, another good reason to get to the bottom of the Forum's stubbornness, aside from the trifling matter of our impending doom. Excuse us while we're trying to make some headway to these books, Miro. More company should be arriving any moment now. Armadillo Bowler. We've returned with our selections. Although I must say, the pickings were quite slim indeed. Mistress Kryl has already flicked through every history book devoted to the disasters, and more than a few which barely made mention of them. As such, we will be looking into research papers on umbral calamities, as well as articles written by prominent forum members. Perhaps their knowledge of the final days comes from an unexpected source. Speaking of which, might I ask you a few questions related to the final days? I'm the only one here who didn't witness the events of Amarat firsthand, and I fear I may be overlooking critical details. My thanks. Now, where to begin? First things first, what kind of phenomena did the ancients encounter as the final days drew nigh? A complete destabilization of creation magics. Primals of unrivaled power were summoned from the ether, the worst kind of phenomena you can imagine. Complete destabilization of creation magics. Yes, the unfolding catastrophe brought havoc on all manner of life. The chaos extended to the ancients themselves, causing the powers of the creation to spiral out of control. Fear and despair manifested in terrible, tangible fashion. Meteors raining from the sky, fire erupting from the ground, indescribable abominations prowling the streets. That more or less aligns with my understanding. If only the art of creation had survived unto the present day, that we might have had something substantial to analyze. To the best of our knowledge, however, those techniques were not preserved or passed on. Isolde surmises that the closest known magic is that of the summoning rituals promulgated by the ancient Asians. Was there aught else of note which heralded the approach of the final days? The entire star was engulfed by disaster all at once. They say it began with a keening sound from the land itself. Ah yes, the Emeratians spoke of it, didn't they? We never did hear this sound ourselves, of course, thus as we were into the midst of madness. But it seems that each and every one of the catastrophes was preceded by an ominous noise. Eventually, it resounded all across the star, and not even on Amarat was spared. So the ground was crying out, you say? To be considered the harbinger of doom, it must have been quite distinctive, and probably quite loud. I'll have to speak with the Numenon Mammoths and ask after any books which make mention of such a sound. Last but not least, would you describe how the ancients sought to quell this unprecedented calamity? What definitive action did they take? They summoned Zodiark. Yes, with a little bit serving as his heart, so many gave themselves in a sacrifice to him, bringing him into being. We do not know exactly how Zodiac brought salvation to the star, only that by his godlike will were the laws of nature set aright. Then, once the balance was redressed, the ancients offered up a further sacrifice to heal the ravages of the final days. Lives sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls they intended to render under Zodiark, a trade that would allow them to resurrect the shades of loved ones absorbed by the primal. Or might have, had Vana and her followers not manifested their opposition in the form of Heidelin. Thank you, both of you, for the detailed review. I feel much more confident in my understanding of the events. With all that freshly in mind, it does make me wonder what the Telophoroi truly mean when they speak of bringing back the final days. We've seen what they're doing with, with those towers of ours. Is forcing people to summon primals a kind of catalyst? Are they attempting to mirror the conditions caused by the unstable creation magics? Or are they simply using the final days as a figure of speech? A convenient metaphor for the scale of destruction they plan to unleash. Oh, but this is all pointless conjecture at this stage. Let us return our attention to the forum, shall we? We should keep an eye on out for Shola, but 'tis time we begin studying these research papers. What? Nobody wants to study these research papers. I'm the last, am I? Well, my extended search of the Archon stacks produced one or two possibly useful books, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. If you recall, Urianger learned that the source's reflections from the Gurun oracles. For its potential to cause panic and confusion, that tome was deemed apocrypha and sealed away in the Great Google Library. 'Tis even less like that knowledge of the unsundered world, not to mention the horrors of the final days we left sitting on a shelf for any curious scholar to find. It stands to reason that my colleagues, be they archons or counselors, should perforce be largely ignorant of the subject. Yet when you confronted Master Fortunal with knowledge of the Telophori and their machinations, he scoffed at the suggestion that they posed a threat. He seemed adamant that the forum would know that the final days were truly upon us, which only supports the conclusion that whatever privileged wisdom is guiding the forum's behavior, it is being kept secret from the rest of the nation. Not that I mean to excuse myself from reading duty. Whether they contain mention of the final days or no, these books may yet hold something of value. You weren't thinking of leaving, were you? There's plenty of work for everyone. Mira's like, fuck that, I'm out. You labor for what feels like an age as Ishtola's research assistant. Oh dear, you look exhausted. But what about your studies? Were you able to find any books on the subjects I mentioned? Ah, then the day was well spent. Should you wish to read them again, a mammoth at the reference desk will point you in the right direction. For the moment, though, I suggest you take a well-deserved rest. We might be occupied with our research for quite some time. Yay, I'm actually going to use that. There we go. Laughing in the void. Okay, what do you got for us, Alsa? A seat at the last stand. Ready for a tea break, Miro? I know I am. Honestly, my neck and shoulders are going to calcify if I don't stretch my legs and walk around for a bit. You know the last stand down in the harbor, don't you? Come and meet me near the outside tables, and I'll treat you to their coffee. It's quite good. Probably went past it or go nowhere. It's fine. Even then, I don't think it would be faster to hit this and then turn around. There we go. Hey, Cheshire, congrats on catching Vector's favorite Pokemon. As busy as ever I see. How very Charlian that no other gourmet cafe has sprung up for complete customers. Actually, this card gives me an idea. Before we place an order, why don't we ask a few questions and gauge the mood of the city? I'm interested to hear the average citizen has to say about the Telophori. We might even learn something new. We could try, don't you think? Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay. At least they're all in this general area. What is it? I may not enjoy a moment of private respite. If you're looking to share a table, then I respectfully request that you look elsewhere. You must understand, sir. We were simply wondering if you knew of the Telophoroi. These enemies of peace that promised an end to all we hold dear, and... Wait, you're that House Levier girl, aren't you? And this woman with you is obviously a foreigner. Huh. I'd heard you were disowned for helping outsiders indulge their barbaric whims, and here you are giving truth to the rumor. I'll thank you to leave me be. I've not to say to the likes of you. Well, I must apologize. 'Twas foolish me to expect an ounce of civility from one so enlightened. Come, Miro. There, Hildois. Yes, I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Hey, excuse the interruption, but we were hoping you might share your thoughts on the Telophoroi and their unconscionable plans. My goodness, if it isn't young Miss Levier. My apologies, but I work in the offices of the Forum, and if word reached Master Portiono that I was helping you... I see. We're sorry to have bothered you. This guy's name is Dickon. I was saying congrats on catching Vector's favorite Pokemon. Welcome, madame. What can I offer you today? Wait, is that Mr. Salazar I see there? My word, how long has it been? Far too long. Meet Dickon, the owner of the Last Stand. I used to frequent his cafe on occasion, in between lessons at the studio. That seemed like an age ago now. I remember hearing that you and Master Alphino had set sail for Eorzea and then you never came back. Later, they've been gossiping about your father disowning the pair of you. Everything all right at home? It's complicated, and I hadn't expected complete strangers to be so familiar with their situation quite so quickly. Everyone has an opinion, it seems. Well, it is House Levier. No matter how discreet Master Portiono may have been, news of your family's doings never stays secret for long. Things being what they are, what brings you back to the city now, of all times? We have questions, and only Charlian has answers. Tell me, Master Dickon, have you heard anything about an apocalypse called the Final Days? What, like the end of the world? Nothing like that, I'm afraid. And that's what you're here to find? Information on this apocalypse? Yes, whatever we can learn. Unfortunately, your patrons appear to be unwilling to speak with me. I wish there was more I could do to help. But maybe there is. You're a visitor to Charlian, aren't you? Then few will know your face. We should be able to pass you off as a server, with none the wiser. We just finished preparing a few orders. Strike up friendly conversation while you're setting down the food, and you might just get the answers you're looking for. Not a bad idea. I hate to ask, but what do you think? Yeah, make me play waitress. Good plan. That's the spirit. Pay attention now, and I'll explain where each of these dishes needs to go. The tea is set is for the chatty group sitting by the water's edge. The omelet is for one of our regulars, a Highlander by the name of Gisla. She's sitting at an outside table with a friend of hers. Behind them, you should see a Makoti gentleman. He ordered the oven-baked lobster. Got all that? If you're not sure, just ask again, and I'll explain again. Good luck. Alright. Tea set. Oh, my tea set. Lovely, thank you. The Telophoroi who? I'm sorry, I've never heard of them or their final days. My friends and I are somewhat uninformed when it comes to current events. Now, if you want to hear the ritual arcane practices of the 6th Astral Era, common or esoteric, then I'd be happy to talk your ear off. This stack in front of her. Ah, finally! 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's dig in. No time to waste. What, the Telophoroi? Ah, yes! I remember seeing that name in the latest Gazette. What, in some grand claim about the end of days? Same old senseless warmongering. When will these fools grow tired of spilling each other's blood? Best stay out of it, I say. Before I made the right choice, and I fully support our decision to remain neutral. Urban banter with a smile. At last, the oven-baked lobster is mine. You have no idea how long I've scrimped and saved and suffered to afford this heavenly dish. The final days. This is the first I've heard of it. Although that would explain why my friend has been rushed off his feet. It must be a busy time to be a gleaner. You don't know what a gleaner is? They're collectors of a sort, traveling the world to procure things that they haven't got here in Charlian. Priceless books, unusual live specimens, so forth. So named for those folk who travel after the reapers in the fields, picking on every grain that was missed. Aye, by all accounts, gleaning is a most meticulous and demanding profession. If these Telophori were good on their audacious threats, then many uncatalogued rarities could be lost forever. Why else would the gleaners be buzzing about in such a frenzy? Watch the harbor and you'll see what I mean. The carton loads in from the docks all day. It's never been this hectic before, not like this. And there you go. There you have it. We're gonna take a break, guys. We'll come back and find out more about these gleaners, perhaps. And what exactly is Charlian doing? Be right back, guys.